Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye. Nashtapraeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatir uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vamcha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, welcome you all to today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam as part of the Bhakti Vaibhav session. So we are continuing with the final portion of Canto 1, Chapter 19, entitled The Appearance of Shukadev Goswami. So specifically last time we saw Parikshit Maharaj expressing his gratitude in receiving the great souls, all the saints and the sages, and we saw the long list of sages and personalities who had appeared there, including Srila Vyasadeva, Narad Muni, Asita, Devala, and all other great personalities, Vasishtha, and so on and so forth, Vishwamitra. And we specifically discussed Maharaj Parikshit glorifying them and expressing his gratitude by saying that usually the saintly personalities like all of you, my dear sirs, you do not assemble and have close association of royal order, of the kingly persons, etc. Because in general, those persons in the royal order are attached to the materialistic enjoyment. And as a result, these Vishayis, these people who are attached to materialistic enjoyment, their association is considered by all the great personalities like you, like a poison. But still, you have been generous, magnanimous in coming here to show your support for me. And thus Maharaj Parikshit expresses his gratitude for all the great sages. And then to conclude the discussion last time, we had discussed this particular verse very, very briefly to explain how everyone in different orders of the social life in Varnashram institution can satisfy, can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead through different means. So for the householders, we had mentioned Santushtya Yena Kenava, by being satisfied with what the Lord has provided. Similarly, Sarva Indriya Upasana Upashantya Cha. That means by regulating all the senses, by the sense control, the brahmacharis can satisfy the Supreme Lord. That doesn't mean that other orders of life don't need to follow these principles. But these principles primarily apply to that particular order. And daya ya sarva bhuteshu, by showing compassion to all living entities, the renunciates, they can please the Supreme Lord because they are constantly enjoying the supreme bliss, being situated on the advanced platform of devotional service. But these great personalities, they don't remain satisfied by enjoying that Brahma Ananda just for themselves. They want to share that bliss with everybody else. So in that, specifically talking about the householders, we had mentioned 3 specific points that a householder should always be satisfied with. So anybody would want to recollect what are those 3 points? Devotees can raise their hand and maybe then we will request. What were the 3 things that a householder should be always be satisfied based on the scriptural injunctions?
I guess Prabhu, spouse.
Spouse, yes, spouse is one. What else?
Food.
Other devotees?
Food.
Food, yes, yes. Whatever anna, whatever food is granted to us by the mercy of the Lord, one should always be satisfied. Very nice. What is the 3rd point?
Material opulences.
Thank you, Venkatana Simpra. So whatever material possessions, opulences that come by the blessings, by the accord of the Supreme Lord, one should be satisfied and not be ungrateful. See, working hard for advancement, material advancement probably is one of the duties for the householders, but that cannot be in the form of dissatisfaction or not being grateful for what the Lord has given. Especially these 3 things, one should be very much grateful. And if actually many a times, sometimes it's going slightly off topic, but relevant and important. Sometimes the bachelor boys, they do ask this question that Prabhuji, how do we make sure we get a good spouse in Krishna consciousness? So first point I always mention is have a very pure intention. If your intention is that, my dear Lord, I want to advance in Krishna consciousness, so give me somebody who would be supportive in that particular endeavor and not keep an ulterior motive like you want everything. The spouse should be of this and this look and these characteristics and probably at such and such position in the corporate life, then obviously one place or another one will have to take a hit or compromise. But if our intentions are pure, then Krishna definitely knows what is best for us to advance in our Krishna consciousness, and Krishna will surely grant a suitable spouse, like he did for Kardama Muni. He was an ascetic materially speaking, not at all materially advanced, but who gave his daughter in marriage to Kardama Muni. Swayambhuva Manu himself, he gave his daughter Devavati in marriage to Kardama Muni, and that marriage specifically was arranged by none other than the Supreme Lord. So, of course, we cannot say that one will get a spouse at that caliber, but definitely whoever Lord has arranged, we should consider that even if there are any challenges, there are any gaps, that is specifically ordained by the Lord for any specific purpose. Like in the life of Srila Prabhupada during his householder life as Abhay Babu, when he saw that his wife, she was not very supportive in his spiritual pursuits. So at one time, Srila Prabhupada mentions that he did consider whether he should go for second marriage. But his father, Gaura Mohan De, he told his son that, my dear son, probably it could be Lord's will that he has given you a wife so that you don't remain too attached to the family circumstances. And when the right time came, Srila Prabhupada was able to detach himself from the family life and fulfill the mission of his spiritual master by dedicating his life completely unto the service of the Lord. So the point is, not everything in this material world we are going to get the way we want, but a devotee of the Lord always is grateful to the Lord for whatever he has given in his life. So we discussed this, how one can satisfy the Lord by remaining satisfied in all circumstances, especially for the householders. And then we proceed with the text verses for today. Anyone has any comments, questions, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, based on what we discussed so far? All right. So let's start with text 15, and then we have slight bit of overlap to start the discussion today. Mahesh, Prabhu, you have raised your hand. You want to recite?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji,
Hare
we
Krishna.
read till verse 18 already covered,
Yeah,
Prabhuji.
that's fine, Prabhuji. So I
Okay,
usually
okay.
go 2-3 verses back.
Okay,
So that
okay,
it's
okay.
easier to maintain the continuity.
Understand, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Text 15, Prabhuji, I'll read
Yeah.
the verse. Tammopayatam pratiyantu vipra
Tamopayantam pratiyantu vipra
Ganga cha devi dhritachettamishe
Ganga cha devi dhritachittamishe
Dijopasrishta kuhakastakshako va
Dvijopasrishta kuhakastakshako va
Dashatvalam gayata Vishnugatha.
Dashatvalam gayata Vishnu gatha. Translation?
Translation by His Divine Grace Abhay Chandanand Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: O Brahmanas, just accept me as a completely surrendered soul, and let Mother Ganga, the representative of the Lord, also accept me in that way. For I have already taken the lotus feet of the Lord into my heart. Let the snake bird or whatever magical thing the Brahmana created bite me at once. I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu.
Thank you,
But
Prabhuji. No purport, no need, Prabhuji. So in this particular verse, this word is very important. Dvijo parsh, Dvijo pashruta kuhakas takshako va. Va means whatever else, either takshaka or whatever else mystical or magical thing that the Brahmana has created, Shungi has created for my end of life. Let that come. But what I want to do, you please bless me that I only take shelter in your association of the Supreme Lord. And then this particular verse, because I felt that we couldn't cover it as much in detail as needed. This is a very important verse, 16th verse, which I have highlighted, where Parikshit Maharaj sincerely takes the shelter of the sages and basically praise to them for the association of Lord's devotees and perfecting his life in that association. So devotees who want to recite, please keep your hands raised, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, so I can request one by one. Gita Mataji, Hare Krishna, you want to recite text 16?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Punascha bhuyad bhagavad
Punascha
Bhuyad
Bhagavad
Bhagavate
Anante
Anante
Rathi prasangascha tad ashrayeshu
Rati
Rati
Prasangascha Tat
Prasangaschadashayeshu
Ashrayeshu
Mahatsuchayam yam upayami shrishtim
Mahat
Mahatsuyam Yam Upayami Srishtim
Maitryastu sarvatra namo dvijabhayo paya dvijebhyaha
Maitriyastu Sarvatra Namo Dvijebhyaha.
Translation.
Translation. Again, offering obeisances unto all you Brahmanas, I pray that if I should again take my birth in the material world, I will have complete attachment to the unlimited Lord Krishna, association with his devotees, and friendly relations with all living beings.
Yeah. So in this particular verse, Parikshit Maharaj is begging the sages, is asking the sages to have 3 benedictions if at all he has to take his birth again in this material world. And these 3 points, they apply to all of us who are currently in the material world. Everyone should aspire for what? One is the unlimited, complete attachment for Lord Krishna. Second thing is association with Lord Krishna's devotees. And third is friendly relationships, friendly relations with all living beings. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that how a devotee is no one's enemy, although there may be many persons who may be inimical to the devotee. But such a devotee always maintains a very friendly relationships, even with persons who are envious towards him. And obviously, friendly relationship doesn't mean that we try to preach to that person. Friendly relationship means we offer our respects to that person, but don't necessarily reciprocate with that person's envy or enmity towards us. And in this regard, we see, now let's start with the slides. We see example of many great personalities in the scriptures. Can we think of any personality, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, of a devotee who, although he was not inimical to anybody else, but there were few persons who were specifically envious and inimical to this particular devotee, but still the devotee offered him, or that inimical person, envious person, his complete respect? Can we think of example?
Ambrish Maharaj,
Ambrish Maharaj towards
Durvasa Muni.
Durvasa Muni. Yes, very nice, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad Maharaj towards
Hiranyakashipu.
Hiranyakashipu. Yes, thank you, Adidev Prabhu. What else? Any other devotee?
Prabhuji, Vibhishan also can be considered.
Yes, Vibhishan towards Ravana. That Ravana, he insulted Vibhishan with severe insults. But Vibhishan was still not inimical. In fact, he was the best well-wisher of Ravana, who always wished good for him. How do we know? Because although Vibhishan surrendered his life to Lord Ramachandra and helped Ramachandra with the details by which he could subsequently conquer Sri Lanka and conquer Ravana, when Ravana was dropped dead, when he was killed by Lord Ramachandra, Vibhishan cried very piteously for his brother, that, my dear brother, so many times I tried to get your intelligence on the right path by telling you about the dangers of being attached to Sita Devi and returning her with all the honor due back to Lord Ramachandra and thus saving yourself. But you never heeded my advice. So he was not at all happy when Ravana was killed. He was very sad for the downfall of his brother. But so in that way, he was the complete well-wisher of Ravana. Similarly, we see in case of Prahlad Maharaj, we often discuss this point that Prahlad Maharaj, he had love for Hiranyakashipu, because of which he was willing to take risk on his own life in order to save his father. And even when his father was killed by Narsimhadev, Prahlad Maharaj did ask for the well-being and protection of his father from Lord Narsimhadev, and Lord Narsimhadev assured him about Hiranyakashipu achieving a very exalted position, not just Hiranyakashipu, but 21 generations before and after Prahlad Maharaj. So we see a devotee is always respectful and loving even towards persons who may be inimical towards him or envious towards him. And in fact, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada specifically points out the aspirations of a devotee. Where is that line? That even if a devotee needs to take birth as in the fallen condition of life, like a kitaka, like an insect, still a devotee aspires to be in the association of other devotees of the Lord. And I had briefly mentioned that there is a famous Vaishnav song by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Manasa Deho Geho. In that song, he sings, Janam Janamobi Moi Icha Jadi Tor Bhakata Grihe Jani Janma Ho Mora Kita Janma Ho Jatha Tuvadasa Bahirmukha Brahma Janme Nahi Asa. That means even if, my dear Lord, by your will, I have to take birth again in this material world, please grant me birth in the house of a devotee. Bhakta Grahe, in the house of a devotee. Even as an insect, never mind. Why? Because in that association of your devotees, I would be able to hear about you and remember you. But I don't want even birth of the most exalted personality in this world, Lord Brahma, if I were to become Bahirmukha, or I were to turn my attention and focus and mind away from you, then I don't want even Lord Brahma's post if I am not going to be your devotee. So even a insect birth is fine as long as devotee association and remembrance of the Lord are there. But even Lord Brahma's birth is not fine if we have to go away from Lord Krishna's devotional service. So let's see few more examples. We already saw how a devotee is always very kind even to those who are envious, like even Maharaj Parikshit's example. The earlier verses we saw that Maharaj Parikshit was completely capable, Bhagavatam says, of two things. One, to protect himself by several means, either by begging pardon from Shamika Rishi or requesting Supreme Lord Krishna for protection, who had already offered him protection right in the womb of his mother. So Bhagavatam mentions Parikshit Maharaj was completely capable of preventing his death and saving himself from the curse of Shringi, but he chose not to. Similarly, he was also competent to counteract that curse by Shringi, but Parikshit Maharaj again considered it as the will of providence and did not counteract that curse. So these are the dealings of devotees towards those who are envious. And in terms of such dealings with those who are envious or even ruffians, specifically, there is also a line in the glorification of the 6 Goswamis, Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha. Specifically for Sanatan Goswami and his peers, the other 5 devotees in the 6 devotees of Vrindavan, it is mentioned by Srinivas Acharya that they were kind even to the ruffians. Specifically for Sanatan Goswami, it is mentioned whenever he used to go around the Govardhan Parikrama, which was much more longer than what we do today, he used to interact with the ordinary Brajavasis and inquire them about their material well-being also. How are their children doing? Have their daughters been married properly? Have their crops grown properly? So he used to take care of inquire about their material well-beings also, and not just their spiritual well-being. As a result, it is mentioned, like I heard in one of the classes from my spiritual master, that even today, in the honor of Srila Sanatan Goswami, the maximum number of Brajavasis, they do Govardhan Parikrama on the day of his disappearance, which falls on Guru Purnima, which falls on Vyasa Purnima. We see maximum number of Brajavasis in honor of Sanatan Goswami circumambulating Govardhan, because Sanatan Goswami used to perform daily Govardhan Parikrama. So this is the effect of devotees behaving in a very kind manner, even with outsiders. Of course, Brajavasis are not outsiders, but even with ordinary persons, how a devotee is kind and gentle. Similarly, we also see example of Jayananda Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's glorious disciple. It is explained that Jayananda Prabhu, he was so popular because of his kind dealings with the outside materialistic persons also, that even after his passing away, when devotees used to go for Sankirtan or for asking for donations for the temple, for collecting donations, the drunkards and all even shopkeepers and all, they used to inquire about Jayananda. They used to refer to him as Joy Ananda, that where is that devotee Joy Ananda? And they were literally crying when the devotees informed those drunkards about Jayananda Prabhu's passing away. And there is also a beautiful article from the life of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. He writes in his own biography how he came to Krishna consciousness. So we will just read few paragraphs. Anybody wants to read Prabhuji's, Mataji's?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can read. If you are
Okay, just give me 1 minute, Mahesh, let me see whoever raised their hand. We will give chance, Prabhuji, to devotees first who have not read. Then I
Okay,
will ask you.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Usha Kamat Mataji, Hare Krishna. Usha Mataji, please unmute. All right. There may be some issue with Usha
Prabhuji,
Mataji.
can I read? Prabhuji, can I read?
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
From where, Prabhuji, this highlighted part we have to
Hare
read?
Krishna.
Yes. Yeah, Usha Mataji, you read the next one, Mataji.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji, highlighted part.
There began to search for the Hare Krishna devotees. Since ISKCON was not very well known, he could not find them for a long time. It was finally during the Ratha Yatra preparations in San Francisco that he found the location of the ISKCON center. He came to the temple where His Grace Jayapataka Prabhu
Jayananda Prabhu.
Jayananda Prabhu was making the Ratha cart, Jagannath. His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj was drawn into service of the Ratha by Jayananda Prabhu. Later, he met Srila Prabhupada, who encouraged him by inviting him to take prasadam with him and making sure he got more than just generous servings. In just 2 months after visiting ISKCON, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj decided to commit himself to the principles of ISKCON. Jayananda Prabhu shaved his head, and everyone was surprised to see that within 2 months of coming in contact with ISKCON, he had shaved up and joined in. In 1968, Gordon John took first initiation in Montreal, Canada, and was given the name Jayapataka Das Brahmachari, and he was very soon awarded second initiation in New York. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So it is mentioned that first interaction of Jayapataka Swami Maharaj before he came in the moment officially. Of course, the first interaction was with devotees who were chanting in a park, and Maharaj was very thrilled to have the darshan of the devotees. But when he went back to the park, the devotees had already gone from that place. And then he was searching for devotees for quite some time. But the next subsequent interaction happened with Jayananda Prabhu, where Jayananda Prabhu was building the cart for Lord Jagannath for the San Francisco Ratha Yatra. And San Francisco is known in devotee circles as New Jagannath Puri, because that is where within ISKCON the Ratha Yatra festival of Lord Jagannath began. So Jayananda Prabhu, when he was building the cart, he happened to see a boy walking down the street, and he called that particular boy, and he asked that boy for help, whether he can help him in putting the nails on the chariot. And the boy helped by holding the nail, and Jayananda Prabhu appreciated the boy so much that I have never seen a person holding the nails in such a nice manner. And the boy felt so encouraged that he helped Jayananda Prabhu in building the whole Ratha Yatra cart, and that boy later on was known in the moment as Jayapataka Das Brahmachari, and subsequently became His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. So the point is, the kindness of devotees, even to somebody who is not, so to speak, within the devotee circle, is still so charming and attractive to the ordinary persons, like we saw through the example of Sanatan Goswami, through the example of Jayananda Prabhu, that even outsiders, they were very charmed and attracted by their loving dealings with everyone else. So this is the one of the qualities of the devotees, the friendly relationships with all the living entities. Then we will also see some of the very important verses about how a devotee always seeks the association of other devotees. And before that, few more points I had jotted down. What is the effect if we are not careful in our dealings with the outsiders, that these outsiders probably who are still leading a materialistic way of life, even if they cannot be much help to us, but they can surely cause great disruptions to the devotional movement or the institution. So one time, Srila Prabhupada was arriving in India from overseas, and there were few devotees who were accompanying him, his disciples. And at the airport, that time probably there was a outbreak of jaundice, the yellow fever, and the customs people, they asked Prabhupada, for him he is like any other saintly person. They asked him, Swamiji, do you have the certificate for yellow fever? It must have been something like a vaccination or something like that. And devotees felt very annoyed and offended that how come these customs officials are asking our spiritual master for all these details, so they should not ask a advanced soul. And the devotees basically got into an argument with this customs official. And what was the result? The result was that those customs official got offended, upset, and they put Prabhupada in quarantine for few hours, like specifically 9-10 hours. And only after that they allowed Srila Prabhupada to leave from the airport premises. And after Srila Prabhupada was out, Srila Prabhupada was not happy with the devotees for getting into argument with these customs officials. He said that, look, staying in the quarantine for 9-10 hours is not discomfort for me, but that much time which I could have spent in serving the devotees and in helping our movement, meet with people, etc., that much time is lost just because of your egoistic actions, getting into arguments with those customs officials. Similarly, one time there was devotees getting into a argument with the PNB official, where ISKCON held an account because of some mistake that was committed on the side of those officials. And basically pointing out that mistake was okay, but still it needed to be done with care without offending those officials. And it so happened that those bank officials who were assisting ISKCON with our bank transactions and related transactions, etc. They refused to do that cooperation later on. And Srila Prabhupada again was not happy with the devotees, how they were behaving with outsiders, people in the outside world, because Prabhupada explained to them that our interaction with outside people should be such that even if they are not devotees, they carry positive impression about devotees and not become antagonistic or envious towards devotees and try to disrupt our efforts to serve Lord Krishna. And positive example of this, we see that so many great personalities like Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, when they were living in Vrindavan, one time a Digvijay Pandit, as the name suggests, that means he had conquered all around different places with his scholarship, Rupa Narayan. This Digvijay Pandit arrived in Vrindavan and he basically offered to have debate with Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and these personalities knew, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, that arguing with this materialistic scholar is useless. Why? Because that would just eat up our time, but the chances of that person becoming a devotee are very, very little. So if there are no spiritual benefits of engaging with that person in discussion, then why to waste that time and energy? And immediately Rupa Goswami asked Digvijay Pandit Rupa Narayan for that certificate, where he admitted that we have lost debate against Rupa Narayan. And Rupa Narayan was very happy that these are so well-known personalities, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and he was very proudly showing off to people that I have defeated them in debate. Basically, he was telling them they have accepted defeat from me, but that defeat was in their humility, that they didn't want to waste their time arguing with such a materialistic person. But later on, Srila Rupa Goswami's own student, his nephew, Jiva Goswami, when he heard Rupa Narayan boasting to people and about having defeated Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, he basically challenged Rupa Narayan. And he said, forget about defeating my spiritual master. You have your debate with me and you try and defeat me first. And basically, Jiva Goswami, who was a scholar, even acknowledged by British Empire and so many monarch, even from Mughal side, they were so attracted by the scholarship and devotion of Srila Jiva Goswami. So he defeated completely Rupa Narayan, and Rupa Narayan was completely embarrassed. But later on, when Rupa Goswami came to know about Jiva Goswami having gotten into debate with Rupa Narayan, he was not very happy. He said, why did you get into debate with that person and waste your time? Surely this is also a sign of false ego, and Vrindavan is no place for a person with false ego to live. You should immediately leave from Vrindavan. And then Jiva Goswami, he undertook great penance, living outside Vrindavan in a small hole near river Yamuna, and subsequently by the mercy of Sanatan Goswami, he was reinstated back under the shelter of Rupa Goswami. So the point is, devotees, when it comes to upholding the dignity of one spiritual master or parampara system or Lord Krishna, they are very careful, but they are not that much bothered about their own reputation, so to speak, but they are very careful about dealings with the outsiders, so that we don't get into crosshairs which can cause disruption in our devotional service. Any particular point, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, Hare Krishna, on this particular point, how a devotee should behave with the outsiders, why it is important to deal with the outsiders with caution and in a friendly manner, so that they don't carry negative impressions. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, anyone
Hare
has
Krishna Prabhuji, Hare
Yes.
Krishna Prabhuji. Friendly, we need to be friendly so that they also get attracted to the love of Godhead, to the movement.
Yes, yes, so that their path is always open in coming in devotee association. We don't block their path. Sometimes it happens that if we sound egoistic, the person would never want to come to this institution or movement or never want to take shelter of Krishna. And the verse that I have mentioned on the right hand side, it's what Lord Krishna mentions as the qualities of people of demoniac nature in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where he mentions such a person considers he is my enemy and I will overpower him, I will defeat him, I have killed him and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything, the enjoyer, I am perfect, powerful and happy. So this is the attitude of a demoniac person with a demoniac mentality. But a devotee is not at all considering anybody else. Like I have also mentioned the example of Yudhishthir Maharaj. See, Duryodhan was throughout his life envious, inimical, and plotting so many adversities against Yudhishthir Maharaj and the Pandavas. But after Duryodhana's departure, after the war of Kurukshetra, Yudhishthir Maharaj was feeling guilty, considering himself guilty for causing the war and his ambition to be the reason, which was never the reason. Similarly, Dhritarashtra, who was so envious and who even after the battlefield of Kurukshetra was still carrying that envy, trying to kill Bhimasen, who somehow got saved because of Krishna's intervention. But same Dhritarashtra, when he left home, Yudhishthir Maharaj was crying and was very sad to see his uncle and aunt go, despite Dhritarashtra's envious attitude earlier. So these are some of the examples of how a devotee deals in a friendly way, even with those who are envious. So now let us, Hare Krishna, Ananda Vilas Prabhuji, you wanted to share something?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat.
Dandas Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, the example you gave of Jiva Goswami,
Yes, Prabhuji.
but in that case, our Acharya says that it is duty of disciple to
Yes,
defend his spiritual master. So Jiva Goswami was right at
right, correct.
that time. So
Yes, Prabhuji.
means how can we compare this example with?
So that particular pastime, it has multiple teachings. From
Mhm.
Rupa Goswami's side, he wanted to emphasize the principle of how we should not spend our time with somebody if there is no hope of that person taking up Krishna consciousness, and if our debating or arguing with that person is simply going to hurt his ego and further minimize his chances of taking to Krishna consciousness. So he was right from that perspective. And Jiva Goswami, as you mentioned, was right in defending the dignity of his own spiritual master and the Guru Shishya Parampara to protect. He was not egoistic in debating with Rupa Narayan, but simply wanted to protect the dignity of the Sampradaya. So he gotten into a debate and defeated Rupa Narayan. So both are right. And the one incident, Krishna wants to teach us lessons from multiple dimensions, Prabhuji.
Okay, yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Like even in the example of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Nimai Pandit dealing with Keshav Kashmiri, we see that when Keshav Kashmiri was not able to respond to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finding that discrepancy in Keshav Kashmiri's glorification of the Ganges, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointed 5 faults in one verse of Keshav Kashmiri and told, these are just sample. If you want, I can list more, but probably you answer this particular first discrepancy that I am finding, that you are referring Mother Ganges as the wife of the husband of Mother Parvati, and that through that particular composition, you are basically questioning the chastity of Mother Parvati, and Keshav Kashmiri was speechless. And Lord Chaitanya's students, they started laughing and making fun, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately stopped them. He did not allow the students to bully Keshav Kashmiri, because he knew that if such a Digvijay Pandit is embarrassed and insulted, he would probably die out of shame. And he did not want him to be defeated or to die, but he wanted to transform his heart. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not allow the children. In fact, he told Keshav Kashmiri, probably, my dear sir, you may be a bit tired because of long travel and all. Maybe you take rest tonight and tomorrow come refresh and we will continue our discussion tomorrow. So he managed the situation. So the point is, a devotee is always, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu playing the part of a devotee, is always very careful not to hurt, or as in material language we say, rub the other person on the wrong side, so that he may be envious, further envious of devotees. We want them to transform their hearts and come to devotional service. So,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Hare
one
Krishna.
point.
Yes, Murli Prabhu.
Yeah, I mean, 3 points in all these cases. 3 things are highlighted, Prabhuji. Any behavior which we have is linked to what you call it as Desha, Kala, and Patra.
Path. Yes.
Is it? Yes. So this is what has been reflected in all of these things, depending on the situation, the place you are, and the time. You know, we
Yes,
have to
Prabhuji.
moderate our behavior, or we adjust our behavior. Right?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. And one simple yardstick we can always use is, in this particular situation, how I should behave so that it would be pleasing to Guru and Krishna. If our behavior, even if right, materially speaking, is not helping the movement or Krishna service, then better avoid that. Okay, so we proceed. We
Hare
discuss.
Krishna Prabhuji, can I ask a question, Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Prabhuji, sometimes devotees dealings with devotees, other devotees also, I think maybe we have seen situations, where not sure if it is really friendly, because sometimes how we communicate basically upsets the other person, and the other person may be a devotee, So maybe a recent example, without quoting any names, there was a devotee who recently moved to our location, and he was doing 16 rounds, sincerely. So he approached for preparing, this doing some service for the bhoga preparation. Bhoga preparation in the sense, basically services outside the kitchen, where vegetable cutting and those kind of services. So he approached them, and since he recently moved, he did not carry his the like dhoti, kurta, those kind of the devotee attire actually. So he came for the service, though he was wearing the mala, carrying the beads, but basically he was not in the proper attire. So maybe I don't know how, because I was not present in that situation, but how he told me that devotees told him, if you are not in the proper attire of dhoti kurta, you can't even cut the vegetables, which was not the case when we first approached. For example, when we were kind of new to the congregation, but that's not the way. But maybe I don't know who basically talked to him, dealt with him. But after that, that devotee's mood was actually, if I don't serve, I should not be eating, because he was already to that level. But because of this behavior, he never gave his name for the service later, because he said, I don't have the dhoti kurta and people may not allow me, so maybe sometimes devotees dealing with other devotees also gets into this kind of maybe not a argumentative stage, but maybe commenting too much about the externalities, that they get discouraged to do the service. So how should we deal with these kind of situations?
So
also?
it's an immature way to, whoever devotee spoke in that, because he's not thinking that somehow I am hurting the soul's chances of connecting to Krishna by discouraging him at a very early stage. Probably later on, maybe after the service is over, one-on-one, he can mention that, Prabhu, next time when you come, try to come in proper attire or dhoti kurta, which is the norm for doing service. But rather than especially commenting in front of everyone or upfront, sometimes can really hurt another person. So it is very, very important whether our action, like specifically from many great devotees like Radha Prabhu, I have heard that 3 criteria for whatever we speak, whether it is right, kind, and necessary. So sometimes, so in this case, it was definitely right, but it was not spoken in a kind manner where the other person should not get offended. So we have to be very careful. Or whether it is necessary. Necessary means the person who is correcting, is he in the position of authority where he has been given charge to make sure that the norms are implemented properly. If not, then maybe let a senior devotee who is in charge of that service speak with that person one-on-one, so that the correction is done without offending. Is that all right, Mahesh Prabhu?
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. So we proceed. Now, next particular point, which is association of devotees. We are going to go a bit more into depth because that is very, very important for all the practicing devotees. So let's see how much time we need. And because I've targeted few set of verses to cover for today. So in terms of Parikshit Maharaj requesting the sages for the association of Lord Krishna's devotees, we see examples from the scriptures of so many great personalities, basically in their prayers, begging the Lord or the great devotees to bless them with the association of devotees. So first example we see is Dhruva Maharaj's example. Now some of these verses what we are going to sing are quite famous and some of may not be that well known. And we have to see whether we are able to devote time for all these verses recitation. So let's see how much we can go through. Usha Mataji, you want to recite this? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Am I audible?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Yeah. Dhruva Maharaj's prayers to Lord Vishnu after the Lord gave him his darshan. What is the meat? How do I?
Let me think.
Brahma Samhita meter.
Bhakti. Yes, Mataji. Brahma Samhita meter,
Yeah.
you can try.
Bhaktim muhu pravahatam tvai me prasango.
You can recite Mataji.
Yeah. Bhaktim muhu pravahatam tvai me prasango. Bhuyat ananta mahatam amalasayam. Yenanjasola hanapapuru vyasanam bhavatim neshe bhavat gunakathamritapana mataha. Dhruva Maharaj continued, O unlimited Lord, kindly bless me so that I may associate with great devotees who engage in your transcendental loving service constantly, as the waves of a river constantly flow. Such transcendental devotees are completely situated in an uncontaminated state of life. By the process of devotional service, I shall surely be able to cross the nascent ocean of material existence, which is filled with the waves of blazing, fire-like dangers. It will be very easy for me, for I am becoming mad to hear about your transcendental qualities and pastimes, which are externally existent. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.9.11. Conclusion: in the association of devotees, one can see Krishna constantly through hearing about him. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. So we see Dhruva Maharaj offering this prayer at what stage? He is offering this prayer when he has already gotten the darshan of Lord Vishnu, that means the perfection of life. And what is he asking in his prayers? He is asking for the association of Lord Krishna's devotees. So in terms of the stage of devotional service, we see Dhruva Maharaj is already at the perfected stage of life. What more is there to achieve than the personal darshan and audience of Supreme Lord Vishnu? But then why is he apparently asking for something which is usually considered as a means? Like we want association of devotees so that we can hear about Krishna, and by hearing about Krishna, probably the perfectional stage is having Lord Krishna's association face to face as the last stage. So while achieving that greatest stage, why is Dhruva Maharaj apparently asking for something which may externally seem preliminary? Anyone wants to share any thoughts, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Why would Dhruva Maharaj ask for something which compared to Lord's personal association and audience might seem one level below? Any thoughts?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can I
Yes,
try?
yes.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I think maybe if we are not in the continuous association of devotees, maybe even after reaching the advanced stages, we still have chances of fall down. So maybe we should always seek the association of devotees so that we continuously keep singing the glories of the Lord, keep hearing about him, about his Naam, Roop, Guna, Leela, so I think so that, we continuously remain in that state. And only in the association of devotees, I think we can hear and chant properly with with the right attention, right mood.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So in regard to this particular verse, we have purport by our acharyas who explain that all these great personalities, either you take the example of Dhruva Maharaj, or you take the example of Narada Muni in his earlier life as the son of a maid servant, or you take the example of Srila Vyasadev after he practices the process what Narada Muni taught him, or what Narad Muni practices what Bhakti Vedantas taught him. We see that the Lord's darshan is only for a specific small duration of time. And after that duration of time has gotten over, then Lord disappears from that place, physically speaking. So as far as the personal association of the Lord is concerned, as Prabhuji mentioned, it's only for some time, temporarily. But as far as the association of the Lord by hearing, excuse me, by hearing about the Lord from the devotees is concerned, that that association can be constant. So aspiring to associate with such devotees who are constantly glorifying the Lord, and through that glorification, the remembrance of the Lord is coming. Such aspiration is considered even higher than aspiring for personal audience with the Lord. So we see Dhruva Maharaj, that's why aspiring for the association of Krishna's devotee, and through that association to hear about the Supreme Lord. Then another example we see, these are very famous set of verses, prayers by Vratrasur, where even Vratrasur is aspiring for the association of devotees. Let me see. Shama Gopika Mataji is there in the group, or any other devotees who knows proper meter for singing this? Anyone? Lalita Vinodini Mataji, you want to recite if you know the meter?
Yes, Prabhuji. Only that I'm in a different class, so there will be a disturbance.
Sure,
I'll
sure.
read.
Yeah.
Let me. Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Mamotama shloka
You can start with the left hand side verse, Aham Hare.
Aham Hare tava padaika mula.
You can decide the complete verse.
Okay. Aham Hare tava padaika mula dashanudasho bhavitasmi bhuyah manasmaratyashu pater gunamste granitava karma karotu kayah. Should I read the translation, Prabhuji?
Yes, ma'am.
Translation by Divine Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, will I again be able to be a servant of your eternal servants who find shelter only at your lotus feet? O Lord of my life, may I again become their servant so that my mind may always think of your transcendental attributes. My words always glorify those attributes, and my body always engage in the loving service of your Lordship. Prayers by Vritrashura, Srimad Bhagavatam 6.11.24.
And read the translation for the other one also. Oh my Lord.
Only the translation here. Oh my Lord, my Master, I am wandering throughout this material world as a result of therefore, I simply seek friendship in the association of your pious and enlightened devotees. My attachment to my body, wife, children, and home is continuing by the spell of your external energy. But I wish to be attached to them no longer. Let my mind, my consciousness, and everything I have be attached only to you. Prayers by Vritrashra, Srimad Bhagavatam 6.11.26. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So we see here in these verses, Vratrasur, apparently externally speaking, in that particular episode, is playing the part of the leader of the Asuras, leader of the demons. And King Indra, he is playing the part of the leader of the Devatas. So Devatas are naturally inclined to serve and surrender to Supreme Lord. But we see, if we go refer to Srimad Bhagavatam, let me open that particular episode. All right, so it is not open. Six 11. We see that Bhagavatam glorifies Vritrasur, although materially speaking, he is at a platform which is totally opposed to the servants of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Bhagavatam does not refer to Vritrasur as Vritrasur. Bhagavatam refers to Vritrasur's prayers as Shri Vritra Uvacha. Shri is usually applied to great personalities, great devotees, and it does not say Vritrasur Uvacha, Shri Vritra Uvacha. That means Vritrasur's position is so glorious because of his attitude of serving the Supreme Lord, and we can see that particular attitude where his only aspiration is that just to be servant of the servant under the shelter of his devotees. What he says, will I again be able to be a servant of your eternal servants who find shelter only at your lotus feet? And why he is requesting for that association and shelter of the devotees? I simply seek friendship in the association of your pious and enlightened devotees. My attachment to my body, wife, children, and home is continuing by the spell of your external energy, but I wish to be attached to them no longer. Let my mind, my consciousness, and everything I have be attached only to you. So, such great personalities who apparently may be speaking the part of an enemy of the servants of the Lord, but they are not enemies, but they are great devotees of the Supreme Lord. So much so that Vritrasur, he was completely confident of going back home, back to Godhead. So he encouraged and taught Indra personally how to kill himself, how to kill Vritrasur. Vritrasur gave that encouragement and conviction to Indra to have faith in the weapon given by Lord Vishnu, the Vajra weapon from the bones of Dadichi, that it is completely capable of killing him. And how to kill him, the procedure, that as well Vritrasur taught Indra. So the point is, even such great souls, their only aspiration is to get the association of the servant of the devotees of the Lord. And maybe we'll see one more example, one or two. Yeah, here also in the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, we see, we'll just read the translation in the interest of time. My dear Lord, this is Prahlad Maharaj offering prayers to Lord Narsimhadev. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of my association with material desires, one after another, I was gradually falling into the blind well full of snakes, following the general populace. But your servant, Narad Muni, kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. Therefore, my first duty is to serve him. How could I leave his service? Now, Prahlad Maharaj, we again see, similar to Dhruva Maharaj's example, is at a stage of his life where he has already achieved the darshan and audience of the Supreme Lord, Lord Narsimhadev. But what is he expressing his gratitude for, and what is his aspiration? He is remembering Narad Muni, who instructed his mother when she was carrying Prahlad Maharaj in her womb. And Prahlad Maharaj is expressing his gratitude. If not for my spiritual master Narad Muni, I was gliding down the blind well of materialistic life. Of course, Prahlad Maharaj can say that, but we know for sure that Prahlad Maharaj was a Mahabhagavat devotee right from before his birth, when he was still within the womb of his mother. But out of his humility, he is saying that I was sure shot, I was gliding down through the materialistic path, the path of materialistic life, if it was not for my spiritual master, Narad Muni, who saved me. So because Narad Muni saved me, I am right now standing before you, my Lord. And what I want to do, I want to again engage in the service of my spiritual master, Narad Muni. I don't want to leave his service. So this is Prahlad Maharaj's prayer to Lord Narsimhadev. So basically, he's again asking for the association and service of the great devotees of the Lord. And final example is the set of the verses from the life of King Prithu, where we see in these two photos also. Can anybody explain what is the first photo? Prabhuji's, Mataji's, anybody who has not spoken so far? Try, don't worry even if it is wrong. Hare Krishna, Vandita Mataji, you want to unmute?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I
Yes.
want to recite the
Yeah, you can
slokas,
recite also,
Prabhuji.
but you want to try. What is that first picture, photo?
First picture.
The two photos
Is
that.
maybe I'm mistaken, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Is this
try.
the situation? Is the situation where Maharaj Prithu loses his son and then he prays?
This is Maharaj Prithu's own father, I believe, okay, Vena, who was basically dethroned and killed by the Brahmanas because of his sinful nature and because of the dharma being topsy-turvy during his time. And then subsequently Prithu Maharaj and Archi, his wife. So Prithu Maharaj was born out of churning the body of Vena. And he's considered as one of the empowered incarnations of the Supreme Lord, basically Shaktya Avesh Avatar. And in the second slide, in the second photo, we see Prithu Maharaj serving the guest four Kumaras who have blessed his palace and basically having them seated on his own throne. Prithu Maharaj is humbly washing their feet. So this Prithu Maharaj is praying. Murli Prabhu, you want to read through the translations?
Yes, Prabhu, I will. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
My dear Lord, you are the best of the demigods who can offer benedictions. Why therefore should any learned person ask you for benedictions meant for living entities bewildered by the modes of nature? Such benedictions are available automatically even in the lives of living entities suffering in hellish conditions. My dear Lord, you can certainly bestow merging into your existence, but I do not wish to have such a benediction.
Thank you, Prabhu. So before we go to the next verse on the right hand side, we see the background to this particular prayer by Prithu Maharaj is probably the Lord wanting to offer for his pleasure, that means for Supreme Lord's pleasure, material opulence and prosperity to Prithu Maharaj. But Prithu Maharaj is completely rejecting any material benedictions. Why? He is saying that these type of benedictions of material prosperity, they are more pleasurable and beneficial to persons who are suffering in the hellish condition. That means even they are entitled for the material opulence and the enjoyment that one is destined to get. That means even the persons of low grade intelligence and ignorance, they can also automatically get material enjoyment what they are entitled to. So I certainly do not want that from you, my dear Lord. And how is he referring to the Supreme Lord? Prithu Maharaj is referring to the Supreme Lord by calling him Kaivalya Pati. Kaivalya Pati means the giver of liberation, that personality who can give the benediction of liberation easily. So then next verse we see that the Lord may be thinking that, okay, you are calling me as Kaivalya Pati. That means, do you want Kaivalya? Do you want impersonal liberation? Then what Prithu Maharaj is saying. Yes, Prabhuji, please continue. Murli Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. My dear Lord, I therefore do not wish to have the benediction of merging into your existence, a benediction in which there is no existence of the nectarian beverage of your lotus feet. I want benediction of at least 1,000,000 years, for thus I may be able to hear about the glories of your lotus feet from the mouths of your pure devotees.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
So when Lord probably would be thinking that since you are referring to me as Kaivalya Pati, do you want Kaivalya? Prithu Maharaj is explaining that he does not wish to even have Kaivalya, which is the benediction of merging into the Brahmajyoti effulgence of the Lord. Why he does not want to accept that Kaivalya liberation? Because there is no active service to the Supreme Lord, including the service of nectarian hearing about the glories of the Supreme Lord. So there is no, what he says, there is no existence of the nectarian beverage of your lotus feet. And what is that beverage? To hear about the glories of your lotus feet from the mouth of your pure devotees. So because that hearing of Krishna Katha is not possible in Kaivalya Mukti, I do not want Kaivalya Mukti. What does he want? Prabhuji, go ahead with the translation.
My dear Lord, you are glorified by selected verses uttered by great personalities. Such glorification of your lotus feet is just like saffron particles. When the transcendental vibrations from the mouth of great devotees carries the aroma of saffron dust of your feet, lotus feet, the forgetful living entity gradually remembers his eternal relationship with you. Devotees thus gradually come to the right conclusion about the value of life. My dear Lord, I therefore do not need any other benediction but the opportunity to hear from the mouth of your pure devotees.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So Ritu Maharaj is giving an analogy that just like the wind that carries the aroma of the flowers and the saffron particles from the flowers from one place to another place, that carrying of the aroma, it happens automatically. Basically, the flowers don't need to put any efforts. So similarly, in the association of Lord Krishna's devotees, the hearing of Krishna Katha by the devotees in the association, it happens automatically. So Prithu Maharaj is quite confident that as long as the association of such devotees is there, hearing of Krishna Katha will automatically happen. And the last verse in this section of, yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, my dear highly glorified Lord, if one in the association of pure devotees hear even once the glories of your activities, he does not unless he is nothing but an animal. Give up the association of devotees, for no intelligent persons would be so careless as to leave their association. The perfection of chanting and hearing about your glories was accepted even by the goddess of fortune, who desired to hear of your unlimited activities and transcendental glories.
Thank you. Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. So Prithu Maharaj says that any intelligent person, once he has gotten the taste of hearing about you from the mouth of your great devotees, would not be able to give up such association of devotees unless that person is as ignorant as an animal. And specifically, Prithu Maharaj is giving the example of the goddess of fortune, who once she heard about the glories of the Supreme Lord, she did not want to give up his association and she pursued getting the Supreme Lord in her life. Can anyone know who is that personality who heard about the Supreme Lord and then developed attraction for him? Yes, Prabhuji's Mataji's think.
Rukmani Mata?
Yes, very nice. Who answered this?
Mahesh. Prabhuji,
Mahesh,
Hare
yes,
Krishna.
yes, Prabhuji, very nice. So Rukmini Devi, it is explained that she was the daughter of the king of Vidarbha, Bhishmaka, if I'm not wrong. Is it correct? What was her father's name? Bhishmaka? Bhishmaka, and then he had Rukmi as the son, Rukmini as the daughter. So in that assembly of her father, once Narad Muni, who came and he basically gave a Bhagavatam, or he basically glorified the Supreme Lord Krishna. Hearing that glorification, Rukmini Devi got so much attracted to the Supreme Lord, even though she had not seen him at all, just by hearing from Narad Muni in the assembly of Bhishmaka, that she wanted to devote and dedicate her life to nobody other than Supreme Lord Krishna as her husband. And she wrote a letter which was sent through a Brahmana that, my dear Lord, if you can't accept me, then at least allow me to give up my body. I don't want to accept anybody else as my husband. And subsequently, Krishna responded to that letter and personally came to take Rukmini along with her. So the point Prithu Maharaj is explaining is that any person who has once heard the glorification of the Supreme Lord in the association of devotees would not be able to give up hearing about that glorification again and again, if that person is intelligent. And if the person is as ignorant as an animal, only then he would be able to give it up. So coming back to our verse that was under discussion, where Parikshit Maharaj is asking the sages for the boon of these three things. One was attraction for the Supreme Lord, second was association of devotees, and third was friendly relationships with all other living entities. And why this association of devotees is sought by so many great personalities, Prithu Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Vratrasur, so on and so forth. We will conclude with this purport, where this particular verse is quite famous. Satam Prasangan Mama Virya Samvido, which explains why the devotee association is so potent, because in that association we hear about glorification of the Supreme Lord. Virya Samvido, the glorification of the activities of the Supreme Lord. Maybe we'll request devotees, Prabhujis, Matajis, whoever wants to read, keep your hands raised so that we purify ourselves by reading these beautiful purports. Rohini Mataji, Hare Krishna. Are we going too fast, Prabhujis, Matajis, Hare Krishna? Are we on the same page still, or somebody is lost in between? Are we able to understand what is going on currently?
Yes, Prabhuji. The pace is very nice, Prabhuji. I think you're explaining it very well.
So,
Thank you,
because
Prabhuji.
I'm just maintaining a pace so that we are able to cover the verses, but at the same time cover through examples of quite a few devotees. Is that all right, Prabhujis, Matajis? Anybody feels it too fast? Devotees are very quiet, so I don't know whether everybody is.
Fine.
It's fine, Prabhuji. It's fine.
Okay, fine.
It's perfectly okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Rohini Mataji, please
Yes,
go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Why is association of devotees so important? Text 16 continued. Non-devotees cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam or any Vedic literature wherein the activities of the Lord are described. They think that these activities are fictional, manufactured stories, because spiritual life is not explained to them in the proper mood. To understand the personal activities of the Lord, one has to seek the association of devotees, and by such association, when one contemplates and tries to understand the transcendental activities of the Lord, the path to liberation is open and he is freed. One who has firm faith in Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes fixed, and his attraction for association with the Lord and the devotees increases. Association with the devotees means association with the Lord. The devotee who makes this association develops the consciousness for rendering service to the Lord, and then, being situated in the transcendental position of devotional service, he gradually becomes perfect. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.25.25 purport.
Thank you.
Developing respect to devotees, devotee admiration, gratitude for devotee association, appreciation for devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that non-devotees, even if they read the same scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam, if that association of the devotees is not pursued, is not gotten, then even after reading Srimad Bhagavatam, they won't be able to develop the taste or aspiration to serve the Supreme Lord if this devotee association is not there. Only when we have the devotee association, whatever theory we are learning, that theory will transform into practice. That theory will transform into character. And until and unless that association of the devotees is not taken, then that theory will simply remain a theory, and we won't be able to, we will still get some benefit because it is Srimad Bhagavatam, but we won't be able to benefit fully from it unless we take the association of the devotees. And what is the picture on the right? Rohini Mataji, you want to try? What is that photo on the right side?
Is it Kapila?
Kapila Muni. And who is that
His
personality?
mother.
Mother Devahuti.
Devahuti.
Devahuti. And so basically Devahuti, although being the mother of Kapila Muni, she is submitting herself to her son to learn the science of devotional service from him after her husband Kardama Muni has left the place, has left her in the care and protection of his son. So, and basically in this particular section of the verses, Kapila Dev is glorifying the path of pure devotional service, and specifically in this verse 25, he is glorifying the association of Satam Prasangan, association of pure devotees of the Lord. So simply summarizing this particular purport, unless we take the association of devotees, whatever we learn from the scriptures, it will be difficult to bring it into the practice without that association. It will simply remain theoretical, that knowledge. So now we proceed. So this purport, I am not specifically going through Prabhuji's Mataji's because we had covered this purport last time, but I wanted to cover few examples, relevant examples, to explain all three benedictions that Parikshit Maharaj is asking. One is the attraction for Lord Krishna, second is association for his devotees, and third is friendly relationships with all the living entities. So we proceed. Text 17. Vandita Tunga Vidya Mataji, you want to recite?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please, go ahead.
Iti smaraja dhyavasaya yuktaha.
Iti smaraja dhyavasaya yuktaha.
Prachena muleshu kuseshu dhiraha.
Prachina-muleshu kushesha dhira.
Udamukho dakshina-kulaste.
Udamukho dakshina-kulaste.
Samudrapatyaha swasutasnyastabharaha.
Samudrapatnya swasutanyastabharaha.
Translation.
As a god's son, sorry, translation.
Imperfect, yeah.
Perfect self-control, Maharaja Parikshit sat down on a seat of straw with straw roots facing the east, placed on the southern bank of the Ganges, and he himself faced the next.
Yeah. North.
Oh.
He himself faced the north. Just previously, he had given charge of his kingdom to his son. So we see here in the purport, Prabhupada is specifying how Kusha grass is considered very, very sanctified, and especially with it when it is plucked with its root, and when those roots are pointing towards the east. So when east is on our right, obviously we would be facing the north. So Parikshit Maharaj is sitting in this position, and it is considered very, very favorable and auspicious for spiritual advancement, for spiritual success. Can we think of any other example, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, where this Kusha grass is mentioned as, let me give you a hint, as spread all over the earth with root pointing towards east? Which other personality we saw earlier, not we saw earlier in first canto, but we saw in the morning Srimad Bhagavatam sessions? Who was that personality who was constantly performing sacrifices with Kusha grass roots pointing towards east?
Ritu Maharaj Prabhu.
Okay, Prithu Maharaj, but let me give you a hint. That personality was performing sacrifices one after another continuously. And the Bhagavata mentions the whole earth surface was covered with Kusha grass pointing towards east.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, is it Prachina
Prachina
Varihi?
Bari, yes, yes. But obviously, Bhagavatam does not glorify that performance of the sacrifice like it is glorifying either Prithu Maharaj or here King Parikshit sitting to hear from the sages and Shukadev Goswami. Why? Because Prachina Bari Maharaj, he was mentioned as basically he was performing those sacrifices for material advancement, not for spiritual upliftment. But later on, by the mercy of Narad Muni, his heart transformed and he also achieved pure devotional service. And Narad Muni specifically wanted to transform his heart and give him his mercy because Prachina Bari was the father of which great devotees? Yes, Prabhuji's Mataji's quickly.
Sorry,
Who,
Prabhuji, what was the question?
who was King Prachina Bari, father of? Who were his sons?
Prabhu, Prachetas?
Prachetas, correct. So because Prachetas were already on the path of pure devotional service, Narad Muni wanted to benefit their father as well. And that's why he came and planned to give his mercy to Prachina Bari, the father of Prachetas. And in his description, Bhagavatam mentioned that he was so much involved in Karmakanda yagyas that after one yagya would finish, immediately the next yagya he would start. And that way, the whole earth was covered with kusha grass with the roots pointing towards east. But those sacrifices are not considered as advanced as these personalities like Parikshit Maharaj or Prithu Maharaj, because their goals were different. Their goals was achieving spiritual perfection, not material advancement. Is this all right, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, Hare Krishna?
Yes,
Are we
Prabhuji.
able to connect the examples?
Yes, Prabhuji. Question, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, what is the significance of kusha grass? Because we have seen, I think, in many examples, like Sanatan Goswami taking kusha grass in his mouth and then taking shelter of the Mahaprabhu. What is the significance, Prabhuji? Why kusha grass is
Even Sri Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita also.
Yeah, so yeah, sitting on the kusha grass with
Seeking on the
especially
kusha grass. How
for
do
the
you attain
yogis. Yeah,
yogis?
yogis, yes. So one thing is for spiritual practice, for the what is the word I want to use? For the transcendental pursuit, there are certain rules that are given in order to situate oneself so that one is neither too comfortable at the same time nor too in a discomfort situation. Like specifically for kusha grass, it is mentioned that it is a seat or a asana which is just perfect for spiritual practice, like either yoga practice or in this case even for the devotional service, even for the process of hearing about Krishna. So it is especially in the 6th chapter of Gita, Prabhuji, that for the yogic practice, these externals, they, what you can say, they are supportive for the spiritual pursuits. So that we are just in the right kind of situation, neither too comfortable nor too much in the discomfort. Okay, and one more thing I have also read in Srila Prabhupada's purport that kusha grass and all, and even deer skin, it is mentioned that they also help keep the unwanted elements, including the snakes and some other types of insects at bay, at far away, so that the yogi or the spiritual practitioner is not disturbed in his practice. So these are few points I have seen, Prabhuji. I don't recollect any. Anybody else wants to add anything, Prabhuji?
Yeah, maybe Prabhuji, my question was like, why this, taken in mouth and then, while taking shelter? That was my point actually.
Yeah, so specifically that example of Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami carrying straw, it was not exactly kusha grass, but straw in their mouth, which is considered as a symptom of complete surrender and humility. So in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they wanted to completely dedicate themselves. So they carried the straw in their mouth, which was a sign of their complete surrender and humility. So it is more symbolical rather than any holding the straw in the mouth while offering
How maybe I'm not able to comprehend, Prabhuji, how kusha grass is it because that Trinada Pi Sunichan, because of that I think it is
yes,
considered.
so first of all, just to clarify, what they carried in their mouth was not kusha grass, Prabhuji. It was a straw. Okay, so it obviously straw is also of a grass, but it does not mention kusha grass specifically, what they carried in the mouth. Kusha grass mention is specifically there for spiritual practitioners to sit upon it.
It is there. The mention is there in various Puranas, Prabhuji. Even from Treta Yuga, also there is mention of it, and
Yeah.
even
Actually,
Even
Prabhuji
in-
is asking mainly in relation
Yes.
to the Goswamis holding it in their
Yes.
mouth for obeisance.
Also, Prabhuji, I've seen whenever we go for funerals in the,
Yes,
so I think they ask sometimes
necktie.
before leaving that area, they ask us to take a straw or grass, and then hold it in the hand and then throw backward, something like that. No, I've seen some ritual being done in the, in that place
Yes.
actually.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So since I never understood, I thought let me ask that question.
I will check, Prabhuji, on this. Specifically, the
Okay.
last point where on the fingers they do make rings of those grasses for the person performing the ceremony, and then later on they have to throw. I have to check, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare-
Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I just got reminded, like when mentioned about kusha grass, that even like when we do achaman, we sit on kusha grass mat.
Yes, Prabhuji.
And also like for yagnas, like when I used to do diksha, we sit on kusha grass mat.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So I'll check and try and come back, Mahesh Prabhu. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
So we proceed. Some of these verses, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, we won't recite where it is important to go through the verse. There we will recite to save time. Anybody wants to recite through other devotees, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, Hare Krishna? Anybody else wants to recite the verse or read the translations? Radhika Ratnanga Mataji. You can read the translation, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Thus the king Maharaja Parikshit sat to fast until death. All the demigods of the higher planets praised the king's action and in pleasure continually scattered flowers over the earth and beat celestial drums.
Thank you. So this point also we had seen last time, that how the devatas, they are very favorably disposed to persons who are pursuing the path of spiritual advancement, and they also encourage and support the effort of such devotees who are trying to go back home, back to Godhead. On the other hand, we see for somebody pursuing material pursuits, the devatas, they consider them in their competition. Like we see when Vishwamitra, before he got completely purified in his heart, when he was performing the austerities, immediately Indra thought that probably he's my competitor, and he offered so many apsaras to distract Vishwamitra. And not all of these persons had material pursuits. Like in case of Prithu Maharaj, he was definitely not at all performing the sacrifices for material advancement, but initial goal was to bring prosperity for his subjects. But Indra somehow felt that by performing those 100 Ashwamedh Yagyas, he would be a claimant for Indra's position. So point is, whenever there are any material aspirations are there as the cause of one's austerities, the devatas, they basically get into the competition mood and sometimes cause obstructions, like Indra caused for Prithu Maharaj. But when the pursuit is clear that it is only for spiritual advancement, then even devatas are very supportive to the spiritual advancement of such great personalities. And last time we saw the example of Lord Shiva aspiring to continue to get association of Sanatan Goswami. And we also discussed briefly about Srila Prabhupada, how the verses that Srila Prabhupada used to quote so fluently and naturally. So even Mother Saraswati is completely helping such great devotees of the Lord. In fact, she did acknowledge in her appearance to Keshav Kashmiri, when Keshav Kashmiri was distraught at not being able to give answer to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's query. And when he went home that particular night and prayed to Goddess Saraswati and asked her that, my dear mother, why didn't you support me today like you support me all through? You have never let me down. And then Mother Parvati says that, my dear son, that particular personality with whom you were arguing in a debate, that personality happens to be my own worshipable Lord as well. So even especially for Lord Krishna's devotees, such devatas are also very supportive and benefiting them. So now we start with text 19. Mataji, continue with the reading. All the great sages.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Radhika Ratnanga Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
All the great sages who were assembled there also praised the decision of Maharaja Parikshit, and they expressed their approval by saying, very good. Naturally, the sages are inclined to do good to common men, for they have all qualitative powers of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they were very much pleased to see Maharaja Parikshit, a devotee of the land, and they spoke as follows.
A devotee of the Lord, and they spoke as follows. Highlighted part, such sages.
Such sages are naturally inclined to do good to the common man, and whom they see a personality like Maharaja Parikshit advance in devotional service, their pleasure knows no bounds, and they are all blessed, and they offer all blessing in their power. The devotional service of the Lord is so auspicious that all demigods and sages, up to the Lord himself, become pleased with the devotee, and therefore the devotee find everything auspicious. All inauspicious matters are removed from the path of progressive devotee. Meeting all the great sages at the time of death was certainly auspicious for Maharaja Parikshit, and thus he was blessed by so-called curse of a Brahmana boy.
Thank you. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So here it is clearly mentioned that both the sages and the devatas, the demigods, they are very appreciative of a devotee of the Lord who is trying to perfect his or her life in spiritual pursuit. So not only the devatas offered their support, like they were showering flowers and everything, when Maharaj Parikshit decided to renounce everything and sit for fasting unto death and hearing Krishna Katha, the devatas were like showering flowers from the heaven, and all the sages also assembled there. And as we will see in the subsequent verses, the sages specifically glorify Maharaj Parikshit that, my dear sir, it is our great fortune that we are able to witness this great moment, and rest be assured, we will stay here until you leave your body and make sure that we are here to support you. So Bhagavatam mentions that because of this great support offered by the devatas, the sages, in Maharaj Parikshit's pursuit to perfect his life, to meet death, that particular curse by Shamik Rishi's son, Shringi, it was in a way a blessing for Maharaj Parikshit. Why? Because he got to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, he was getting to hear about the Supreme Lord and perfect his life, and not only he, because of him, so many sages, they came together to hear Krishna Katha, and that Krishna Katha is also beneficial to everybody else who is going to hear. So all this we will see in the subsequent verses. Hold on. So Mataji, please continue. The sages said.
The sages said,
here, O chief.
O chief of all the saintly kings of the Pandu dynasty, who are strictly in the line of Lord Sri Krishna, it is not at all astonishing that you give up your throne, which is decorated with the helmets of many kings, to achieve eternal association with the personality of the Godhead.
Yes. So now the sages' glorification of Maharaj Parikshit begin. And what are they saying? It is not at all astonishing, my dear Maharaj Parikshit, that you give up your throne, which is decorated with the helmets of many great kings. So the sages are recollecting the great family lineage of Maharaj Parikshit. His grandfathers, they were great devotees of the Lord, and that's why, carrying their great legacy, even Parikshit Maharaj is able to detach himself from this kingly opulence to pursue the path of Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada makes a very important point where we'll see some of the supporting documentation. Yes, Mataji, highlighted part of the purport.
Yeah. Foolish politicians who hold political administration posts think that the temporary post they occupy are the highest material gain of life, and therefore they stick to those posts even up to the last moment of life, without knowing that achievement of liberation as one of the associates of the Lord in his eternal abode is the highest gain of life. The human life is meant for the achieving for achieving this end. The Lord has assured us in the Bhagavad Gita many times that going back to the Godhead, His eternal abode is the highest achievement.
Yes, ma'am. So we'll take a pause here. So now let us try to dwell a bit on this particular paragraph. My first question is, when did Srila Prabhupada write this purport, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, approximately? When was the time when Srila Prabhupada write this?
When he was still in India.
Yes.
Yes, when he was still in, very nice. He was still in India. So approximately what particular year? Around?
Early 1960s.
Yes, early 1960s. So that time, based on Srila Prabhupada's earlier interactions with some of the politicians, we see those particular thoughts or considerations coming out in Srila Prabhupada's purport. So let us revisit this point again. What is Srila Prabhupada writing? Foolish politicians who hold political administrative posts think that the temporary posts they occupy are the highest material gain of life, and therefore they stick to those posts even up to the last moment of life. So likely Srila Prabhupada is referring to the interaction that he had with Mr. M.K. Gandhi, and which we also see being mentioned in his Leelamrit, in his biography. Maybe we will read this particular portion to make it clear. Anybody wants to read Prabhuji's, Mataji's? This is very important, and again, this is strictly for practicing devotees, for us to learn our lessons. We don't want to criticize anything, anybody, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. This material, what we are going to read, is not for speaking first time to outsiders. We will basically, we may hurt their faith. Okay, so we have to be careful. Devika Mataji, Hare Krishna, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
On December 7, 1947, Abhay wrote to Gandhi from Kanpur. Gandhi was living at the Birla mansion in Delhi, where large military forces throughout the city discouraged Hindu-Muslim rioting. Gandhi's secretary, Parallel Nair, described Gandhi at this time as the saddest man who could picture. The men he had led in the struggle for Indian independence, Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel, and others, had taken the leadership of the nation. And Gandhi, with his doctrines of non-violence, unity, and
agrarianism,
was now at odds with them in many ways. He feared he was becoming an
anachronism. Yeah,
anachronism. His former colleagues admired him but rejected his leadership. All his programs, Hindu Muslims unity, non-violence, upliftment for the poor, although prized throughout the world, were failure in the India of 1947.
Yes, ma'am. So now let us go directly to the letter to see Srila Prabhupada's. There are many qualities of Prabhupada which come out through this letter to Mr. M.K. Gandhi. One is Srila Prabhupada's spiritual intelligence, what danger is oncoming. He completely mentions in the letter. And he also mentions that if this particular recipient of the letter does not heed to that particular caution, then his life also may be in danger. So let us say, and specifically for a practicing devotee, why it is important to completely take shelter of Lord Krishna and not be attached to the materialistic post till the end of one's life. So there are many lessons for all of us. Mataji, continue with the letter. Dear friend.
Okay. Dear friend Mahatma Ji, please accept my respectful namaskar. I am your unknown friend, but I had to write to you at times and begin, although you never cared to reply them. I sent you my papers back to Godhead, but your secretary told me that you have very little time to read the letters and much less for reading the magazines. I asked for an interview with you, but your busy secretaries never cared to reply this. Anyway, as I am your very old friend, although unknown to you, I am writing to you in order to bring you to the rightful position deserved by you. As a sincere friend, I must not deviate from my duty towards a friend like your good self. I tell you as a sincere friend that you must immediately retire from active politics if you do not desire to die an inglorious death. You have 125 years to live as you have desired to live, but if you die an inglorious death, it is no worth. The honor and prestige that you have obtained during the course of your present lifetime were not possible to be obtained by anyone else within the living memory. But you must know that all these honors and prestiges were false in as much as they were created by the illusory energy of Godhead called the Mayas. By this falsity. Falsity.
Yeah.
By this falsity, I do not mean to say that your so many friends were false to you, nor you were false to them. By the falsity, I mean illusion, or in other words, the false friendship and honors obtained thereby were but creation of Maya, and therefore they are always temporary or false, as you may call it. But none of you, neither your friends nor yourself, know this truth.
Yes, we'll take a pause here. So, Srila Prabhupada, as a sincere and honest friend of Mr. Gandhi, was mentioning to him that, my dear sir, whatever honor and prestige that you have received in your life, hardly anyone in modern history has received such prestige. But now is the time. Don't be enamored by these false prestiges and the falsities of friendships that you have had. Why? Because these are all orchestrations by the illusory energy of the Lord. And what you should do, he will mention in the last paragraph. So because the letter is bit long, we won't be able to read everything. You can read at your leisure. Mataji, directly go to, hang on. Where is that? At least a month. Srila Prabhupada says, yes, please read this.
Okay. I would only request you to retire from politics at least for a month only, and let us have discussion on the Bhagavad Gita. I am sure thereby that you shall get a new life from the result of such a discussion, not only for your benefit, but for the benefit of the world at large, as I know that you are sincere, honest, and moralist. Awaiting your early reply with interest. Your sincere Abhay Charan De.
Yes. So Srila Prabhupada is saying that, look, Mahatma Ji, he says, dear friend Mahatma Ji in the beginning, that if you dedicate your life to pursue Krishna consciousness at this stage, not only you will get benefit, but because you are an icon for so much large portion of the humanity, even they would benefit if you take to Krishna consciousness, take shelter of a devotee authority and surrender your life in Krishna consciousness. And in the beginning, what does he caution to Mr. Gandhi? If I tell you as a sincere friend that you must immediately retire from active politics if you do not desire to die an inglorious death. Now, what is the date when this letter was written, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? On December 7th, 1947. And you Google it and see what happened to Gandhiji 2 months down the line. 31st January 1948, Gandhiji was shot. So the point is, it was already a high time that he was warned that, my dear sir, whatever you had to do for the country, you have already done. People consider you as their ideal. But if you still continue with your political aspirations and everything, then the life is going to be very harsh. It is high time you should retire and pursue Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada mentions few places in his letter that earlier, my dear sir, you have never bothered to take this advice seriously. And in fact, your secretaries have told that you don't even have time to read, acknowledge these letters, or even read this Back to Godhead magazine that I am trying to give. And Srila Prabhupada time and again mentioned that I am your sincere friend, but probably unknown to you. Can we think in the story of Maharaj Prachini Bharishat Prabhuji's Mataji's, who was that unknown friend who was trying to do good for Prachina Bari? Who was that friend in that story? Yes?
Narada Muni.
Narada Muni Prabhu.
Narad Muni was explaining to him, but when Narad Muni explained the story of the Navadwara Puram, the story of the city of 9 gates, he mentioned about Avigyata, or a unknown friend to that particular king in the story. Obviously, Narad Muni answer is correct because he delivered Prachina Bari. But in the analogy, what Narad Muni gave, there was a Avigyata friend. You remember, Prabhuji's Mataji's? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So that Avigyata friend was the Paramatma, was the super soul, isn't it? So Narad Muni mentioned that how that particular materialistic king in that story never hid to the all the good advice and the counsel given by Avigyata, the super soul. And we see here as well this particular famous politician who Srila Prabhupada is referring to, that sometimes they consider that they temporary post that they are occupying as the highest perfection of life. But that is not true. They stick to this post even up to the last moment of death, even up to the last moment of life, without knowing that achievement of liberation as one of the associates of the Lord is the highest gain of life. So Prabhupada tried so hard to help his friend, because why friend? Because at one time during the initial part of Srila Prabhupada's life, during the early 1920s, Srila Prabhupada was influenced by the Gandhian movement before he came in touch with his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he was also basically planning to dedicate his life for Gandhi's movement. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained to him that these political movements and the rulings, these are completely temporary thing, and spreading of Krishna consciousness cannot wait for any of these materialistic things. It has to be done as a priority, as a emergency. And somehow Prachina Bari was intelligent enough to heed to the story given by Narad Muni and saved his life, ultimately reached perfection. But in this particular case, we see that this particular letter by Srila Prabhupada, we don't even know whether it reached Gandhiji or whether he took it seriously. Or third thing, we for sure know that he did not change his priorities. And 2 months down the line, same thing happened what Prabhupada feared, that he might die an inglorious death. Inglorious means that which is not glorious. It is not like in the service of Lord Krishna or for going back home, back to Godhead, like Maharaj Parikshit did. So coming back to this particular point, of course, the purpose of this discussion was not to target any specific personality, but for us to understand that how the highest priority in life should be taking shelter of the devotees, and in that shelter, remembering the Lord and trying to achieve going back home, back to Godhead. That is the highest perfection of life, not the materialistic pursuits which are temporary. Anybody has any question, comments, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Anybody is offended here? Hare Krishna, or upset? But I just simply read just to drive these important lessons for our own self. Hare Krishna. Any comments, thoughts, Prabhuji's Mata? Don't stay quiet, otherwise I don't know whether you all agree or disagree or nothing.
Agree, Prabhuji, completely
Oh,
agree.
right.
No.
All right. So let us proceed.
What was told, no, Prabhuji? What was
Come
the,
on.
what was the fact that only you read, no? So there's no
Yes.
personal opinion in this.
All right. All right. So let us proceed with the same purport. So hang on now, we have very little time. Yeah. So in the later part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about Prahlad Maharaj's prayer to Lord Narsimhadev. How he says, Prahlad Maharaj, in essence, he says that, my dear Lord Narsimhadev, your this ghastly form as Narsimhadev is not, I'm not at all afraid of this. I am as much loving and attracted to you as any other form, but I am very much afraid of the materialistic way of life. That I am very much afraid about. And that's why in whatever species of life that I take birth, make sure that I always get your remembrance. And in the conclusion, Srila Prabhupada writes, thus the devotees of the Lord, the pink one, Prabhuji's Mataji's, this one. Thus the devotees of the Lord are never enchanted by the glare of materialistic life, and they live impartially, unattached to the objects of false, illusory, materialistic way of life. So point is, this material glare and the so-called achievements, they don't really attract a devotee as much, not as much. Ideally, it is supposed to not attract at all compared to the glory of pure devotional service. And we have so many examples. Like we see the example of Sridhar Kolavech, who was a simple banana seller, leading a very simple life. He used to sustain his life by selling banana flowers, leaves, banana fruits, and other parts of the banana tree, and basically was living, materially speaking, life of a pauper, of a poor person. There were more knots on his dhoti than the cloth itself, Chaitanya Charitamrita describes. But still, he was completely happy and satisfied in his life, to such an extent that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, during the Mahaprakash Leela, when he offered Sridhar Kolavech any material benediction that he desires, including promotion as Lord Brahma, Sridhar Kolavech basically lovingly chastised the Lord that, my dear Lord, please don't tempt me with these material offerings. I am completely happy with your devotional service. And if at all you want to bless me with something, then grant me that vision and remembrance of the child Nimai coming to my shop and haggling with me on prices of the banana products and finally taking them for free. So that particular remembrance, let that always remain in my mind. So that was the prayer of Sridhar Kolavech. Similarly, we see even in the case of Prahlad Maharaj, we see here beginning few verses. So this is the chapter number 10, Prahlad, the best amongst the exalted devotees. What he says, the saint Narad Muni continued, although Prahlad Maharaj was only a boy, when he heard the benedictions offered by Lord Narsimhadev, he considered them impediments on the path of devotional service. Thus he smiled very mildly and spoke as follows. Now just let's read these three translations, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, and see how Prahlad Maharaj actually defeated Narsimhadev. Prahlad Maharaj said, my dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because I was born in an atheistic family, I am naturally attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, kindly do not tempt me with these illusions. What illusions? The material benedictions. I am very much afraid of material conditions and I desire to be liberated from materialistic life. It is for this reason that I have taken shelter of your lotus feet. O my worshipable Lord, because the seed of lusty desires, which is the root cause of material existence, is within the core of everyone's heart, you have sent me to this material world to exhibit the symptoms of pure devotee. And this particular verse will conclude our discussion with the fourth verse. What he says? Otherwise, O my Lord, O Supreme Instructor of the entire world, you are so kind to your devotee that you could not induce them to do something unbeneficial for them. That means Prahlad Maharaj is acknowledging that whatever material benedictions that Narsimhadev is offering to him, it is only out of Lord's love towards him, but he is very afraid of those material benedictions. Why? Because he doesn't want to be distracted in his Krishna consciousness. And then he says, on the other hand, one who desires some material benefit in exchange for devotional service cannot be your pure devotee. And last line is most emphatic line. He says, indeed, he is no better than a merchant who wants profit in exchange for service. And the exact word Prahlad Maharaj uses in this verse is vanika. And vanika means a merchant, a mercantile person who does exchange between commodity and some kind of value like gold or money or whatever. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying, my dear Lord, I am not a vanika, I am not a merchant that I offer you my devotional service and you give me in return for that devotional service some material benediction. I don't want that. Then my devotional service to you will not be a loving offering. It will be a business between you and me, that I give you something and expect something in return. So this is the mood of a devotee, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. And here Srila Prabhupada is explaining that in this way, a devotee is never enchanted by the glare of materialistic life, and they are completely unattached to the objects of false, illusory, materialistic way of life. Is there any question, comment, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, on these various examples, prayers that we saw? Hare Krishna. Is it
Prabhuji,
too heavy? Yes,
no,
Mesh.
it is very good, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for explaining it so well, Prabhuji, for bringing these examples which are making the understanding much easier for us, Prabhuji.
So just try to give some thought, like, what Prabhupada is probably trying to draw the point, and then we will be able to dive deeper. So let me see. Prabhuji's, Mataji's, can I take 10 minutes more? I had planned to cover a few more verses.
Sure, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so let's proceed. So let me request devotees. Rohini, Mataji, you had raised your hand. You want to read through?
Yes, Prabhuji.
We shall all wait. Yeah.
We shall all wait here until the foremost devotee of the Lord, Maharaja Parikshit, returns to the supreme planet, which is completely free from all mundane contamination and all kinds of lamentation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam. So here the sages who had assembled there to show their support to Maharaj Parikshit, they are basically expressing their resolve to not move away from that place until and unless Maharaj Parikshit's return back home, back to Godhead. So they acknowledge Maharaj Parikshit's position as a Rajarshi, as a great devotee king, and they want to show their support to him. Highlighted part, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. And amongst all the above-mentioned Vaikuntha lokas, there is one supreme loka called Goloka Vrindavana, which is the abode of the Lord Sri Krishna and his specific associates. Maharaja Parikshit was destined to achieve this particular loka, and the great rishis assembled there could foresee this. All of them consulted among themselves about the great departure of the great king, and they wanted to see him up to the last moment because they would no more be able to see such a great devotee of the Lord. Can I continue, Prabhuji?
Yeah, please continue.
When a great devotee of the Lord passes away, there is nothing to be lamented because the devotee is destined to enter into the kingdom of God. But the sorry plight is that such great devotees leave our sight, and therefore there is every reason to be sorry. As the Lord is rarely to be seen by our present eyes, so also are the great devotees. The great rishis, therefore, correctly decided to remain on the spot till the last moment. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. What purport by Srila Prabhupada? See, Prabhupada writes that whenever a great devotee is departing, it is not that devotee is lost because he is anyway going back home, back to Godhead, but it is our loss that we are not going to have association of that Vaishnava further after that. We are going to be deprived of the association of such a great devotee. And Srila Prabhupada mentions, just like Lord's darshan is only for a small duration of time. We saw the example of Dhruva Maharaj, we saw the example of Srila Vyasadeva, we saw the example of Narad Muni. So all these great personalities, they did get the darshan of the Lord, but it was only for a short duration. And Prabhupada compares that value of short duration of the darshan of the Lord with the short duration of time when we have great devotees in front of our eyes. How much value we should, how much valuable we should consider it. It is equally valuable as the darshan of the Supreme Lord. The great rishis, therefore, they decided to remain on the spot till Parikshit Maharaj's last moment. Please continue, Mataji, translation, all that was spoken.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
All that was spoken by the great sages was very sweet to hear, full of meaning and appropriately presented as perfectly true. So after hearing them, Maharaja Parikshit, desiring to hear of the activities of Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, congratulated the great sages.
Yeah, the king said,
The king said, O great sages, you have all very kindly assembled here, having come from all parts of the universe. You are all as good as supreme knowledge personified, who resides in the planet above the three worlds, Satyaloka. Consequently, you are naturally inclined to do good to others, but for this, you have no interest either in this life or in the next.
yes. So Parikshit Maharaj is basically expressing his gratitude for the sages, that only to show their support to him, because they want good for everybody else. That is their only purpose in life, to do good to others. There is no other interest in the life of such saintly persons like the sages who had come there. So he is expressing his gratitude for the sages having come there to show their support. So I'll just quickly read this part. Such persons, being fully aware of knowledge, both mundane and transcendental, have no interest either in the mundane or transcendental words. They are practically desireless devotees. In the mundane world, they have nothing to achieve, and in the transcendental world, they are full in themselves. Then, why do they come to material world? They descend to different planets as Masihas by the order of the Lord to deliver the fallen souls. On the earth, they come down and do good to the people of the world in different circumstances under different climatic influences. They have nothing to do in this world save and except reclaim the fallen souls rotting in material existence, deluded by material energies. So basically, Parikshit Maharaj is both submitting himself and glorifying the sages. And then we will conclude with the two important questions that Parikshit Maharaj asked. What are those questions? And these questions are quite similar to the first question asked by the sages of Naimisharanya to Suta Goswami. So, Rohini Mataji, please continue.
Prabhuji.
Yeah.
O trustworthy Brahmanas, I now ask you about my immediate duty. Please, after proper deliberation, tell me of the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances, and specifically of those who are just about to die.
Yeah. So which are the two questions, Rohini Mataji? What is the first question?
Unalloyed duty of everyone.
Yeah. So what is the general duty, okay, of everybody in all conditions, but specific second question is, what is the duty of one who is about to die? And Prabhupada explains in the purport, specifically the second question is very pertinent, is very important, because all of us are going to die. So that, and Prabhupada mentions how rest of the cantos, they practically deal with answer by Shukadev Goswami on these two questions. As such, we saw that the first 6 questions by the Naimisharanya, first question was the same question, what Parikshit Maharaj asked. What is the duty of a man who is about to die? And second was, what is the most best welfare activity for people in general? But ultimately, answers to these questions form the rest of Bhagavatam. So you can go through the rest of the purport. Let me see if I have missed anything. Yeah. And at that very moment, like Prabhupada basically mentions in the purport that probably there was some difference in opinion between the sages who had appeared in terms of answer to Parikshit's question. What is the duty of a man about to die? And in order to solve or fix this dilemma, who appeared on that particular scene? The powerful son of Vyasadeva, Shukadev Goswami. He traveled as a Avadhuta, who traveled over the earth disinterested and satisfied with himself. He did not manifest any symptoms belonging to any social order or status of life. He was surrounded with women and children. Why? Because there are several reasons. One is, quite a few people considered him as a avadhut or madman, and plus his bodily features, they were very attractive because he had a hue just like Lord Krishna. He had a very long arms and very bright and effulgent body. So that's why women and children, they were also surrounding him out of their curiosity. So you can go through here. And then Shukadev Goswami's description is mentioned till text 28, 29. You can go through. Yeah. Okay, so this part you can go through till text 29, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. If you have any questions, you can ask next time, and we will try and begin our discussion next time from text 29, 30 onwards. Hare Krishna. Is there any question based on what we discussed today, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Hare Krishna. So let me quickly revise. We explained, we started basically revising from the last discussion. What are the three things from different social orders of Varnashram institution, which are meant to satisfy Lord Krishna, and what is the takeaway for the householders from this verse. And then we discussed about three things that Parikshit Maharaj prays from the sages. First thing is to have attraction, loving attraction for Lord Krishna. Second thing is association of the devotees. And third thing is friendly relationships with all living entities. And we went a bit into depth about why it is important for us as a practicing devotees to have exemplary behavior with outsiders. Otherwise, even if they may carry limited influence to support us, the disruptive power of materialist is huge. They can cause disruptions in spiritual movement. We saw a few examples. And then second aspiration by Parikshit Maharaj to get the association of devotees, we went into depth seeing the prayers by many great souls, including Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Vratrasur, Prithu Maharaj, so on and so forth. And about attraction for the Supreme Lord, that also we discussed briefly. Is there any question, comment by anyone, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? If not, then thank you very much. We connect next week. Hare Krishna. Vamcha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnav vrinda ki jai. Vaishnav Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One announcement I had, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, for the shloka recitation. Because the Hindi group is very large, we recently implemented one method to do the shloka recitation, where it would reduce the workload of Rasarangini Mataji. So let me discuss it with her, and then we will come back to you through Rasarangini Mataji.
Sure, Prabhu.
So
Yes.
wait for that announcement. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.